Hello, and welcome to the Limited Membership Tour, how to get the most out of your Scotch Cheap Flights membership. In this video, we'll talk through our Help Center, our guides, and throughout the video, I'll share tips so you can get to your specific destination on the cheap. To start, my name is Janae, and I am on the Scotch Cheap Flights member success team. Our team answers when you email us at support@scotchcheapflights.com. Reach out to us with general questions for travel advice, membership concerns, or even to share when you book a deal. Once again, that email is support@scotchcheapflights.com. All right, let's get going. All right, let's talk through the Help Center. You can get to the Help Center from a few different ways. From your profile page or when you're logged in, you can select the support option from your menu. Or you can click on the menu drop down up here and select FAQs. From here, you can navigate down to the help categories. We have options for getting started, learn how to book a flight, learn about your profile and alerts, update your membership and billing. And if you need help getting started, we have a pre-selected FAQ menu for you here. We also have a travel glossary so you can learn about the industry jargon that we use, the ability to check out guides, and contact support here. Let's dig into a few of these guides. So clicking that link will take you directly to our guide landing page. You can also navigate there when you're logged in by simply selecting guides up here. We have some pre-selected guides already ready for you to check out in the featured section. These are some of our most popular and helpful guides. For instance, where can Americans go now? How to use Google Flights to find cheap flights in 2021. What to do if an airline changes or cancels your flight. And the best and worst cities in Europe to fly into on cheap flights. One of my favorite articles in this list is the How to Use Google Flights to Find Cheap Flights in 2021. This guide is chock full of great tips at using Google Flights to get the best out of our deals. I highly recommend it. Next, I want to talk about this awesome guide we call the Greek Islands Trick. It's about how to cross the ocean as cheaply as possible. And it's great for getting tips on how to get exactly where you want to go and save money. Essentially, if you're someone looking to travel to a specific destination, you want to keep an open mind about how you'll get there and be on the lookout for deals to neighboring destinations too. For example, if you're hoping to go to Berlin, be on the lookout for deals to Amsterdam, Brussels, Paris, Geneva, etc. If you see one of those deals, you can snag that cheap international ticket, then hop on a regional flight to Berlin. This trip will open up your options and save you so much money. Check out this full article, The Greek Islands Trick, How to Cross the Ocean as Cheaply as Possible. It's in our guides under the Flight Booking tab. For this next travel tip, we're going to head on over to our Departure Airports page. Like the last tip, this one is all about connections, but these are specifically before you head overseas. You want to follow the maximum number of airports allowed to increase your chances of scoring a specific international deal. As a limited member, your max is 5 airports. And be sure the international box is checked. The more airports you follow, the more opportunities you have to score deals and see the specific deal you're after. We always recommend adding a couple of high-volume airports in your region to your list. If you see a deal out of an airport that you're following, but it's not your home airport, you can always grab a cheap connecting flight from your home airport to that other airport with a really cheap international deal, then fly overseas. For international tickets, the savings is totally worth it. Sometimes you have to think outside the box to get where you want to go and save money. Here's an example. Say you're looking to go to Paris. Our suggestion would be to follow more airports in your region, particularly some big airports, to increase your chances of being notified of a Paris deal. Say your home airport is Miami, like mine. Then a deal to Paris pops up out of Atlanta for $424 round trip. You got to make sure you're following Atlanta. Normal price for the route is $900 plus, so that's a fantastic deal. First, you book Atlanta to Paris for $424, then book a separate round trip ticket from Miami to Atlanta. Atlanta isn't that far, so not only is it a cheap flight, but there could also be a domestic deal that you wait for if you're planning your trip far enough in advance. Then once you book your domestic leg, you're all set. That's how you use our service to think outside the box and save money. I've got a couple more guides to show you. Let's head back to the guides page. Want to know about the best airports to follow for deals? In our guides, click on the Airlines and Airports tab, then head to the second page, and you'll see these last two articles. The best and worst U.S. airports for cheap domestic flights in 2021, and the best and worst U.S. airports for cheap international flights. Both of these guides go in depth of which airports to follow. Finally, let's wrap up this video with Scott. He's here with his top tips for those of you who want to get to a specific destination on the cheap.
Hey everybody, Scott here. Look, I'm often asked, what is the secret to finding cheap flights? And if I had to boil it down to just one thing, it would be this. Take the normal way that you search for flights and flip it on its head. The normal way most of us search for flights is a 3-step process I call the destination first method. Step 1, you decide where you want to go. Step 2, you decide when you want to go there. And only on step 3 do you look, well, what do the flights cost? And by setting price as the last priority, it's not terribly surprising that we end up with some pretty expensive flights. And so instead, what I recommend is take that same 3-step process, and if cheap flights are something you're really hoping to get, flip it on its head and make cheap flights the top priority. Step 1, where are there cheap flights available out of my home airport? Step 2, of those places that are cheap, which ones appeal to me the most? And step 3, what dates work for my schedule? By setting price as the top priority rather than the last priority, that's how you get cheap flights, and that's how you take 3 or 4 vacations for the same price that you used to pay for one. So let's say you want to travel in the middle of summer or Christmas, New Year's. If you're like most people, you don't start to think about booking those flights until a month or two beforehand. But as we know, if you wait to book your flights until a month before the middle of summer, chances are there's not going to be any cheap flights left. Instead, the best way to get cheap flights during a peak season is to use this simple rule of thumb. Always book opposite season. You know, in the same way that swimsuits are going to be at their cheapest in the winter and down jackets are going to be at their cheapest in the summer, so too with airfare. So when you're at your 4th of July barbecue, that's when you should be thinking about booking those Christmas or New Year's flights. And when you're getting dolled up for that New Year's ball, that's when you should be thinking about booking your next summer flight. Don't put it off until the last minute when all the cheap seats are gone. Think about booking opposite season when you're much more likely to find those cheap peak season flights.
All right, that's it for this video in the limited membership tour. Oh, and PS, one more tip. If you're a Facebook user, join our Facebook group called Travel Community to get recommendations for your upcoming travel, to share pictures, and to swap stories with other travelers. Happy travels!